And we got one here from End Times Productions. Shout out to them. There is a tick-borne illness going around, alpha gall syndrome to be exact, and it is giving people an allergy to red meat. Now, a lot of people don't know about this. I sure as shit didn't until very recently. So I think this is something we should pay attention to and not let slip off the radar. So let's get into this.
Across the country are saying that they're finding tick boxes filled with live ticks on their property, just sitting there, dropped off. And millions of people believe the story is true, but the CDC says nothing. So either this is the dumbest conspiracy in the history of the internet, or it might be true. Now, I think I found something pretty interesting, so we're going to take a look at it. But before we do that, I want to just let you know that Snopes, the debunking website, has investigated this claim. They say that the story is false. They said it started with an Instagram post in April.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Snopes said it's good, so it is good. No reason to dig any further.
And they're saying that the whole thing is false. They contacted all of these different municipalities in Missouri, specifically Missouri, and asked them if there was any reports of tick boxes being found. They found no reports, so they're saying the whole story is false. Now, does that mean the whole story is false? Not necessarily. What it means is either that the people that they contacted didn't have that report, because if a farmer did go to like their local police department and was like, hey, I found this box of ticks on my property, do you think the police are going to A, file a police report, and B, send that police report up the chain to the state government? I really don't think so. I think what would happen would be if a farmer did take a box of ticks or even just went to the police department and was like, hey, I found this on my property, the cops would be like, okay, I mean, what do you want me to do about it? So I think that just because Snopes didn't find any official reports from Missouri doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. And I found something that Snopes absolutely missed, because they're saying that it started with an Instagram post saying, oh, it's all fake. It all starts with this Instagram post and it's just hysteria. But they missed something, and I found it. So we're going to talk about it right now. So,
real quick, as far as him saying that the police won't take this any further, that's a super valid point. I mean, if they see a box of ticks, they won't know what to do with it anyways. So, of course, there won't be a report on it properly, because they wouldn't even know where to take that next.
March 16th, 2026, like 2 weeks before Snopes said that this whole story began, there was a forum post. I think it was at like 2 a.m. on a forum called GLP, Godlike Productions. And I know, that is considered a conspiracy forum, and it is, but doesn't necessarily mean that what's on there is incorrect, because somebody posted something on that site 2 weeks before Snopes said that this whole story began that confirms everything, and it adds another layer to this story. Now, again, when I say it confirms everything, it doesn't necessarily mean that, yes, this is factual. What it means is it adds more credibility to the story being true, versus what, the mainstream says when they're saying that this story definitely is not true, because we contacted certain places in Missouri and they said no. So this forum post, and I'm going to put it...
It's kind of crazy that Snopes is considered mainstream now, but shit, it is.
Directly on the screen, and I'm going to read it word for word. It says this, quote, I work for a private charter company in Ontario, Canada. The company handles booking and chartering flights across Ontario mainly. We are paid to spread ticks by air. It happens twice a year, early spring and early fall. This year, we've been hired to do it earlier. The company receives the ticks in boxes. Each box contains millions of ticks. The aircraft used are generally single or dual prop aircraft, single pilot, and one other passenger that handles the dispersal. It pays a lot, and I mean a lot. Generally, the ticks are dispersed in several specific regions in Ontario, and it's always the same regions each and every year. Thus far. Last spring, the ticks dispersed were mostly American dog ticks. This year, they are all deer ticks.
Wait. So, this is, first of all, to preface, this is off a conspiracy website, apparently. But this dude is saying that he gets hired to drop off ticks across America twice a year. No. I'm sorry. Canada. To drop off ticks in Canada twice a year. I've never heard anything like this before. That's crazy. But again, disclaimer, this is apparently a conspiracy site. So
Supposedly specifically bred to withstand cold temperatures. End quote. So that post was from March 16th, 2 weeks before Snopes said that this story originated. All right, and it's pretty interesting. Here we have a whistleblower saying that they are paid to disperse ticks across Canada. Now, this sounds eerily familiar to what we're hearing about these boxes of ticks that are being found. And it begs the question, was this person telling the truth? Is this post accurate? And if it is, what are the implications of this? Because it turns out that this whole thing wasn't started by this Instagram post. No, it was already on the internet before that, 2 weeks before that, before the woman who is blamed for starting this conspiracy theory started it. Now, look, I'm not telling you that this anonymous coward from Canada is a verified
anonymous coward.
Source. I'm not telling you that it's 100% true what they said. What I'm telling you is it's very suspicious that there was this post online 2 weeks before the whole story came viral. Now, obviously, we can't prove who this person is, if they made it up or not, because it's on this conspiracy website, GLP. But like I said, what Snopes did to debunk this was they found one viral post and, contacted a bunch of offices in Missouri and was like, see, this viral post is wrong because Missouri says it's wrong. Now, there's also a video circulating from pretty recently, actually, filmed by a woman on her own farm, filmed with her phone, and she filmed a black helicopter hovering low on her property, releasing something, or trying to release something, because we're not really sure what was released, what wasn't released. But going by this video, this woman found this helicopter on her property in a field and ran up, kind of angry. Here, check it out.
We have no clue who these people are or what they're doing, but they're on our fucking top field.
Yeah, I saw this video the other day. This is crazy. This helicopter hovering super low to the ground, clearly dropping something off, just comes onto her property and then flies off. There's no interaction between them. They have no idea what's going on. I'm describing the video and I can just hit play and shut the fuck up.
Who the fuck? What are y'all even doing? I don't know about you, but I call this trespassing. Who the fuck? Literally, in our top field. Oh, there they go.
That is crazy.
Too hot for heavy shirts? Shirt Up with Charles Tyrwhitt.
So, and I mean, I think that video looks authentic. Doesn't look AI to me. AI videos have a special AI look to them. This looks like somebody filming from the phone, and she was obviously pretty angry, judging by the F-bombs that she dropped, all right? So yes, it is anecdotal evidence, but here's the thing about anecdotes. When one person sees a black helicopter dropping something on their property, on a farm, in a field, surrounded by trees, yeah, well, maybe that's a story. Maybe that's a hoax. But to say that that's a hoax is kind of far, because this woman would have had to hire a helicopter to fly out and then wait there in the trees, waiting for the helicopter to get close, and then she comes out acting all surprised.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to remember now in this age of rampant disinformation is just to take everything with a grain of salt and just do your own research. Research every possible facet and avenue of the thing that you're interested in and come to your own conclusion. That's why I'm doing this video, because I just wanted to put a little bit more exposure on this, because no one's really talking about this. I did not know about this. The alpha-Gal syndrome is 100% a real thing that gives people an allergy to rail meat, and it's a tick-borne illness. This ties into that because apparently boxes of these ticks are being dropped off in farms across America. I don't know if that part is true. That's what we're trying to figure out. So let's keep going.
While that helicopter flies away. But that doesn't make sense. Nobody in their right mind would hire somebody to fly a helicopter out to their field just so they can film a video. Doesn't make any sense. So that begs the question, what was that helicopter? Maybe it was a misidentified agriculture flight or something. But why would they be on private property, right? And why would they fly away when they see her coming? Okay? So there's so many things here that aren't adding up with this story. And when millions of people across America are simultaneously reporting the worst tick season that they've ever seen in their entire life, well, maybe it lends credibility that there really is something going on here. And before you scroll away from this video, before you call this a conspiracy, let me tell you something. Something that is on the congressional record. Yes, this isn't just a conspiracy, it's on the congressional record. Now, what is it? Let's talk about it. In 2019, the U.S. House of Representatives, the actual government, ordered what? They ordered the Pentagon to investigate something similar to what we're talking about, to investigate whether the U.S. military has weaponized ticks with Lyme disease and released them into the United States or into the American population. I think it was between 1950 and 1975. Guys, that's not TikTok. That's not a forum post. This is a bipartisan amendment passed by the House of Representatives. And like I said, they were directing to DOD, or what is it, Department of War now, to inspect and to figure out whether this actually happened. And Congress actually...
I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper on that, not just the particular tick claim, but that headline said that the U.S. had a history of testing on U.S. citizens. That's interesting. So I'm going to have to dig into that a little bit deeper.
is asking this question legally. They're saying, was this done on purpose? Did we do this? And if so, how extensive is this? Okay. Congress didn't ask if the research was happening. Congress didn't ask, if there was some ticks in laboratories somewhere.
On a side note, bruh, the U.S. is crazy now, but the government was on some shit back in the fucking 1950s and 40s, man. You getting all of these unredacted files and undisclosed files. They're like, yeah, man, we covered up aliens. We killed JFK. We experimented on the population. Like, damn.
Or they're messing with Lyme disease. Congress asked what escaped. And what was the Pentagon's response? Well, it was heavily redacted, which is no surprise given, what we saw happen with the Epstein files. If anything happens, anything gets released, anything gets forced to be released that doesn't suit the big picture that they want us to believe, it gets redacted. And nobody cares because the news cycle just continues on, just like nobody cares about the Epstein files anymore because everybody's now concerned.
Not true. A lot of people still care very much about it. They just can't get any more information. But I get what he's saying. And the mainstream media does not help at all. At all. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, they have the attention span that we have. But it's twisted because we count on them to get news. So they should have a longer attention span and they should bring more attention to certain issues. But they don't. They just move on.
And about what? The war in Iran, oil prices, the economy, Trump going to China, UFOs, all of these things. And
Well, to be fair, the war in Iran is pretty relevant.
I do think UFOs are not only real, but they're very important. I also think the Epstein files are very important, and we should not be glossing over them and being distracted by the news cycle, which we obviously are. Now, back to the ticks. So yeah, the report that was released after Congress asked was heavily redacted. And the Inspector General investigation for that, well, it was quietly closed. There was no public findings, no follow-up hearings, and a Stanford-affiliated journalist named, I think his name was Chris Newby, he wrote an entire book about it. It's called Bitten. And this book is on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. You can go buy it right now.
I'm going to have to look into that. I haven't actually read a book in a long time, but I do listen to books. But I'll have to check this out.
Now, so when somebody in 2026 posts on a forum saying that they're being paid to drop ticks from an airplane, I'm not telling you to believe him. I'm telling you that the United States government has already done this once and nobody was ever held accountable. Now, let me show you the numbers because here's where things get a little bit creepy. These are the actual numbers from the CDC, okay? Not from a forum, not from TikTok, not from Instagram. This is from the Center for Disease Control. 2017 to 2019, the average Lyme disease cases were 37,000 per year. In 2022, average cases, 62,000. 2023, 89,000. Okay? CDC estimates that actual Lyme disease infections per year are about 500,000. It's like 476,000 or something like that. Guys, this is not a slow climb. This is exponential. This is a vertical line going straight up. And Lyme disease incidences in 2022 was, I think they said it was 68% higher than it was 3 years earlier. That's the CDC's own data from their website and from their investigations, but that's not even the weird part because it gets even weirder. There's a disease called alpha-gal syndrome. This is the one, it gives you a red meat allergy. You get bitten by a Lone Star tick, and after you get bitten by this tick, it releases this disease into your body, and it makes you become allergic to beef, to pork, to lamb, to dairy in some cases even. Eat a hamburger, you're dead. And do you think it's any coincidence while this disease is starting to spread where it's making people allergic?
Real quick, the focus of this video was to talk about the tick boxes and the spreading of alpha-gal. But before we get too far into that, let's just talk about Lyme real quick, because I myself don't really know what all the symptoms are of Lyme disease. But just real quick, you get flu-like symptoms, headaches, you get crazy migraines, swollen lymph nodes, you can get neurological symptoms, heart symptoms, rashes, joint pain, arthritis, and further neurological complications. So Lyme disease ain't no joke either. I just wanted to take a quick minute and talk about Lyme disease, but let's get back to alpha-gal.
To meat, that you have people like pushing for meat to be eradicated and for people to eat bugs and people to eat lab-grown meat. Okay, do you think that's a coincidence? I don't know. I'm not saying it's connected, but what I'm saying is this ideology of get the population off of meat and this mysterious meat allergy driven by ticks seem to be coming up into our world at the exact same time.
Odd timing, certainly. And it's especially odd because red meat is super important for the human diet, and we've always known this, but somehow it fell on the back burner, and now in the past couple years we're talking about just how important red meat is for the human diet again. We get a lot of nutrients from red meat. And on a side note, which kind of ties into this too, is there is more research being done on creatine, specifically creatine. Now, you know that you could take creatine and it helps with muscle recovery and muscle growth. But further studies are coming out showing that creatine can help with neurological function, memory, sharpness, clarity. The reason I'm bringing this up is because we get creatine, if you don't take it in a supplement, you get it mostly from red meat. So I don't know if it's a conspiracy or not, but it's very interesting timing.
Tell me, put it in the comments. So this disease, alpha-gal syndrome, it was barely known 15 years ago. Nobody even talked about it. There was a few hundred cases here and there, and nobody really talked about it because it wasn't a big deal. And here we are today where there's an estimated between 100,000 and 450,000 Americans have this disease now, according to the CDC. The CDC is officially calling this increase substantial.
Control prevention shows 450 people in the U.S. may have been affected since 2010. Okay, so this article was from 2023. So from 2010 to 2023, they detected about 450,000 infections, which, I mean, if you spread that out over the course of, 13 years, that's not a crazy amount, but still alarming.
Since 2010. And researchers at VCU last fall called the rise explosive. And pay attention to this. Until last year, doctors thought alpha-gal syndrome only came from the Lone Star tick, which is a southern species of tick usually found in the southern states. However, in March 2025, the CDC confirmed that 2 tick species transmit it, deer ticks and Lone Star ticks. Now that it's confirmed that deer ticks can also carry this disease, with Lyme disease, mind you, things are getting a little bit more strange. And now it's spreading through deer ticks that didn't carry it until very recently. And I'm not telling you what to think about this. I'm not telling you what to think about the rise in deer ticks and Lyme disease and alpha-gal syndrome. I'm just giving you the facts, people. Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, maybe the deer tick situation is all in our heads. It's not increasing. Maybe Lyme disease has been here the whole time. And that's true. Researchers at Yale found that Lyme disease can be found and has been found in deer ticks in the Northeast forever. They've actually proven that this bacteria has been around for basically forever, as long as they can look back. So that begs the question, why now? Why are so many people around the country getting this disease now, and in the past they never got it?
It's also interesting to make a quick note here that the Lone Star tick is one of the most common ticks in America, but like he said, it's found primarily down south. Guess what the second most common tick is? The fucking deer tick, which is found pretty much anywhere there are deer. So
what we should be asking, because you might look back at history and be like, well, you know what, that area of America, New England, and the whole northeastern part of the United States it's wooded, it's heavily wooded. So they might make the logical conclusion that this has always been around. It's just we're talking about it more now because of social media. But 300 years ago, when the American colonies were at war during the Revolutionary War, soldiers slept on the ground. They slept in forests. They walked through forests. They spent all of their time walking through the woods, walking through the forest. So you would think that these people would be 100% covered in ticks all the time, and it would have been the bane of their existence, right? But that's not the case. Think about it, guys. The Continental Army, during the Revolutionary War, for years, they walked through New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New England itself, in the exact same regions where Lyme disease is now an epidemic. You'd expect ticks to be a huge problem in the Revolutionary War records, right? But they're not. Read the field hospital reports, read the doctor's notes, read the soldiers' diaries, okay? Because all of this information is still around today. We have so much information regarding what it was like to fight in the war, what people had to go through, all the trials and hardships that they went through fighting in the Revolutionary War. And yeah, there was lice everywhere. Fleas were destroying regiments. I mean, dysentery, destroyed men. There was smallpox outbreaks. But ticks?
Right.
No.
So they would 100% be detailing Lyme disease in those medical records if it was a rampant problem, for sure.
Not at all. A footnote, maybe, but it was barely mentioned. The best case scenario, you can call the tick situation during the Revolutionary War as unremarkable. In fact, there's only one reference that I could find about ticks even being a thing back then, and it was referenced by, I believe it was a soldier saying that ticks could only be found in the wooded areas far away from the towns. If they would have been bitten a lot, they would have talked about it, because they did talk about all the other things. There's people complaining about mosquitoes, people complaining about big horseflies, they're complaining about all sorts of insects, but ticks, nope. So what we have here is basically in just a few short generations, right? Because I mean, the Revolutionary War seems like it was a long time ago, but 250 years is only a few generations. It's really not that long in the big scheme of things, okay? So scientists will say, yeah, we have warmer winters now. It's because all the deer were depopulated back then, and now they're overpopulated because people aren't hunting them as much. So it gives the ticks more places to live because they live on deer, hence the name deer ticks. Okay, I guess there's some truth to that, right? And then they also say, back then, deer were basically hunted to extinction. It was very rare to see a deer back then because people ate them. And now the hunters are, few and far between. So you have these overpopulations of deer, like we said. And you also have mice and other rodents that are thriving because the food chain is off. You don't have any predators eating the deer, keeping the populations in check like should be naturally. So the deer populations are exploding, and with it, the ticks. And okay, I mean, it makes sense, it's logical, and I give them that, okay? But the thing that's strange about it is the speed of this shift. It doesn't seem normal. And the geographic precision of these tick outbreaks doesn't seem normal either. The fact is that ticks are moving north, and they're doing strange things now that we've never seen them do before, such as alpha gall syndrome being found in deer ticks. Deer ticks aren't just spreading north, by the way, they're also spreading south and west, and they're being found all over the place. Check out this.
God, look at that. The Northeast is being fucking ravaged. Oh, I see where I live on this map too. That ain't great. But at least it's not terrible there yet. It's coming though.
And if you believe the post that I showed you earlier from GLP, well, they're being specifically engineered to survive cold winters. So it doesn't matter if the winter is the coldest winter on record. According to this poster, the ticks will survive. So with that being said, here's the question that we really need to sit with. If these boxes are true, if these stories are true, what it means is somebody who, I mean, you tell me, is engineering this, the spread of diseases across America.
Well, if it is being engineered, then we know who. But I don't want this video to get too long. I wanted to get into this a little bit and spread a little bit of awareness. Again, shout out to End Times Productions. I'm going to react to some more stuff from him. And I'm going to keep an eye on this alpha-gal syndrome and this spreading of ticks. This is interesting. So we'll check back in on this at another date. But I appreciate y'all. Till next time.